Although the car was meant for you, my dad said into the microphone, his voice calm like an officer giving orders, but you don't worth having such a car. So, we're passing it to your sister. The laughter that followed wasn't real laughter. It was that nervous, broken sound people make when they're witnessing something so uncomfortable they don't know whether to look away or lean in closer. But I knew that tone in my father's voice. I'd heard it my entire life. That smug superiority, that casual cruelty wrapped in authority, the way he always made my strength their excuse to diminish me further. My sister smirked and said, "Relax, Alyssa. It's just a car." Just a car? Just a car? No, you privileged, spoiled little princess. It wasn't just a car. It was the wedding gift my husband's parents gave us with love, with respect, with the understanding that we had earned something beautiful together. It was the symbol of a new beginning that my father just stripped away in front of everyone I had served to protect. It was another piece of my dignity he decided belonged to someone else. My groom raised his eyebrow, slow and deliberate, like a sniper waiting for the right moment to strike. And in that silence, in that terrible, suffocating silence where the wedding music died mid-note, I realized this wasn't about a car. This was about every single thing they'd ever taken from me. Every achievement they'd diminished, every sacrifice they'd ignored, every time they'd made me feel like I had to earn what other people were simply given. The guests froze around us, unsure if this was part of some elaborate toast or if they were witnessing a family completely imploding in real time. But I stood there in that stillness I'd learned before breaching enemy doors, that calm before the storm that every SEAL knows intimately. I've faced ambushes in hostile territory that felt calmer than this moment, standing in my wedding dress while my own father tried to humiliate me in front of everyone who mattered. You want to know what hurts the most? It's not the car. It's not even the public humiliation. It's the fact that I saw this coming. I've been the older daughter my entire life, the disciplined one, the responsible one, always cleaning up my sister's mistakes, always being told to be the bigger person, always expected to sacrifice so she could have whatever she wanted. When my sister crashed her first car at 17 because she was texting while driving, somehow it became my fault for not guiding her better. When she dropped out of college because partying was more fun than studying, I was supposed to talk sense into her. When she got arrested for drunk driving, I was the one who had to use my military connections to help clean up the mess because family takes care of family. But when I made the Navy SEAL list, when I became one of the first women to complete that grueling training, when I proved that I could do what most men couldn't do, my father looked at me with disgust and said, "You're trying too hard to be a man." I was trained to serve my country. I was trained to face enemy fire, to make split-second decisions that could save or end lives, to lead men and women into impossible situations and bring them home alive. But no one trained me to survive my own family. No one taught me how to defend myself against people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. My groom leaned in and whispered, "Do you want to handle this now or later?" And I looked into his eyes, these eyes that had seen me at my strongest and my most vulnerable, these eyes that belonged to a man who understood what it meant to fight for something bigger than yourself, and I said, "Now." I wasn't trembling. I wasn't falling apart. I was calculating. In my purse, I had a sealed brown envelope, already notarized, my silent contingency plan. Because you don't spend years in the SEALs without learning to prepare for betrayal. You don't survive in hostile territory without having backup plans for your backup plans. So I called my father's bluff, my voice steady as a commander giving orders to troops under fire. "Dad, could you repeat what you just said for everyone to hear?" He smirked that infuriating smirk, the one that said he thought he still had all the power, all the control. "You're overreacting, Commander." "Commander." He said it like it was a joke, like my rank was something cute, something pretend. Like the years of blood, sweat, and tears it took to earn that title meant nothing compared to his ability to embarrass me at my own wedding. I opened the envelope. Inside was a notarized declaration that all wedding gifts, including the car, were legally under my name and could not be reassigned without my signed consent. The guests started whispering among themselves. My sister's laugh died in her throat, her face going pale as she realized this wasn't going to go the way she expected. "You made your decision publicly, sir," I said, letting the word "sir" carry all the military precision and authority I'd earned through years of service. "So I'm drawing my boundary publicly." And I watched my father's smile collapse under the weight of authority he couldn't command anymore. For the first time in my life, I saw him realize that his little girl, the one he'd tried to keep small and compliant, had grown into a woman who wouldn't be controlled. My sister's voice cracked as she said, "You're really doing this over a car?" "No," I replied, my voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "I'm doing this because you've never faced consequences for anything in your entire life. I'm doing this because every time you've screwed up, I've been expected to clean up the mess. I'm doing this because I'm tired of being the family scapegoat while you get treated like a princess who can do no wrong." My mother stepped forward, her voice dropping to that manipulative whisper she'd perfected over the years. "Alyssa, you're embarrassing us." Embarrassing them? Embarrassing them? The rage that shot through me in that moment was white-hot, pure and cleansing. "You embarrass me the moment you treated my worth like a hand-me-down. You embarrass me every time you made excuses for her while holding me to impossible standards. You embarrass me when you taught me that love had to be earned while giving her everything for free." The guests were starting to pull out their phones now, recording this family meltdown for posterity. The perfect family image we'd maintained for so long was fracturing in real time, and I found that I didn't care. Let them see. Let them all see what happens when you push a trained warrior too far. My father's face turned red with anger and humiliation. "You're a disgrace in that uniform." Those words hit me like physical blows. A disgrace? I had served my country with honor. I had risked my life for people I'd never met. I had earned every ribbon, every commendation, every moment of respect that uniform represented. And my own father was calling me a disgrace because I refused to let them steal from me anymore. "No, Dad," I said, my voice steady despite the fury burning in my chest. "I earned this uniform. You just wore control like a badge of honor, but control isn't leadership. Control isn't love. It's just fear dressed up as authority." My husband stepped forward then, extending his hand to me. "Dance with me, Commander." The music resumed, hesitant at first, then stronger. The crowd didn't know what to do, how to react. I turned to my father and placed the legal paper in his hand, letting my fingers brush against his for just a moment. "Love isn't ownership, sir. It's respect. And respect is earned, not demanded." We danced, calm and defiant and completely unbothered by the chaos we'd left in our wake. My uniform glittered under the lights, every thread a testament to the strength I'd found in myself, the strength they'd tried so hard to break. Some wars end with surrender, but mine ended with a waltz. The next morning, my sister posted on social media, "Some people value money more than family." The hypocrisy was staggering. She was the one who'd spent her entire life putting material things above relationships, expecting everyone else to sacrifice so she could have what she wanted. But somehow, when I finally stood up for myself, I was the greedy one. My mother commented on the post, "Still praying for those who forget where they came from." Where I came from? I came from a family that taught me my worth was conditional, that my achievements didn't matter unless they served someone else's needs. I came from a place where love was a weapon used to control and manipulate. Maybe forgetting where I came from wasn't such a bad thing. I scrolled through the comments, smirked faintly at the predictable responses from relatives who'd never once asked how I was doing during my deployments, but suddenly had opinions about my character. Funny, I thought. I fought real wars, but none as dirty as family guilt. My husband encouraged me to start therapy, and at first I resisted. I'd handled combat stress, survived impossible missions, led teams through hell and back. Surely I could handle my own family drama. But sitting in that therapist's office, I realized I'd been wrong about so many things. "You're not grieving, Commander," she told me during one of our sessions. "You're detoxing." "From what?" I asked. "From obedience." Those 2 words hit me like a revelation. I'd spent my entire life being obedient. Obedient to my parents' expectations, obedient to the family dynamic that kept me small, obedient to the idea that good daughters sacrifice themselves for the sake of family peace. But obedience without respect isn't virtue. It's just another form of slavery. I began to realize that boundaries don't make you cold. They make you free. Free to love authentically instead of out of obligation. Free to give because you want to, not because you're expected to. Free to be yourself instead of whoever other people need you to be. I started changing passwords, deleting emergency contacts, locking out old access points to my life. It felt like shedding skin, like emerging from a cocoon I hadn't even realized I'd been trapped in. For years, I had fought for a country that called me brave, but inside my own home, I was treated like a soldier who didn't deserve rest, who didn't deserve recognition, who existed solely to serve others. I kept one photo from the wedding, a candid shot that captured the exact moment my father's smile died and my courage was born. It's not a pretty picture. There's pain in it, and anger, and the messy reality of a family falling apart. But it's real. It's honest. It's mine. A year later, a letter arrived in my mailbox. I recognized my mother's handwriting immediately. "We miss you. Come back when you're ready to be family again." I placed it on my desk beside my service medals, these symbols of honor and sacrifice that my family had never truly understood or respected. They still don't get it. They think I left the family, but I didn't leave the family. I left the battlefield. I left the place where love was conditional and respect was optional. I left the dynamic that kept me fighting for scraps of affection while others were served a feast. The tears that came weren't tears of weakness. They were tears of release, of finally letting go of the hope that they would change, that they would see me as worthy of the same love and respect they gave so freely to my sister. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop fighting for people who will never fight for you. I drive that car now, the one they tried to take from me. I drive it with the windows down and the ocean breeze flowing through my hair, my husband's hand resting on mine, both of us in our uniforms heading to a ceremony where our service will be honored, where our sacrifices will be acknowledged, where we are valued for who we are rather than diminished for who we're not. They tried to strip me of a car, but they didn't know who they were dealing with. I wasn't built to surrender what I earned. I wasn't trained to accept disrespect disguised as love. I wasn't programmed to shrink myself so others could feel bigger. I am Commander Alyssa Grant. I have stared death in the face and refused to blink. I have led soldiers through impossible missions and brought them home alive. I have earned every stripe, every commendation, every moment of respect that my rank commands. And I don't need anyone's permission to exist as the strong, capable, worthy woman I fought so hard to become. The family that raised me taught me that love was something you had to earn through sacrifice and submission. But the family I chose, the man who stands beside me and sees my strength as something to be celebrated rather than contained, taught me that real love doesn't diminish you. It amplifies you. The uniform I wear isn't just fabric and insignia. It's a symbol of every obstacle I've overcome, every limit I've shattered, every person who told me I wasn't strong enough or good enough or woman enough to belong in elite military service. When I put on this uniform, I'm not just representing my country. I'm representing every woman who's been told she's too much, who's been asked to make herself smaller, who's been expected to apologize for taking up space. The car represents more than transportation. It represents autonomy, the right to make my own choices about my own life. When they tried to give it to my sister, they weren't just redistributing a gift. They were sending a message that my achievements, my relationships, my worth were still subject to their approval and redistribution. But I've learned something that took me too long to understand. You can't negotiate with people who fundamentally don't respect you. You can't reason with individuals who see your boundaries as suggestions and your pain as drama. You can't maintain relationships with family members who treat your love like a resource to be exploited rather than a gift to be treasured. The silence that followed my stand that day wasn't empty. It was full of possibility. Full of the future I was claiming for myself, the life I was refusing to let them control anymore. In that silence, I heard something I'd never heard before, my own voice, clear and strong and uncompromising. I think about the young woman I used to be, desperate for approval, willing to sacrifice anything for the crumbs of affection they threw my way. I think about all the times I swallowed my anger, all the times I made excuses for their behavior, all the times I convinced myself that this was just how families worked. And I feel such profound sadness for her, for the years she wasted trying to earn something that should have been freely given. But I also feel pride. Pride that she survived long enough to become me. Pride that she never completely lost the spark of defiance that eventually grew into the fire that burns in me now. Pride that she kept fighting, kept pushing, kept believing that she deserved better even when everyone around her was telling her to settle for less. The therapy sessions taught me that healing isn't about forgetting the past or pretending the hurt never happened. Healing is about integrating those experiences into a narrative that serves your future rather than imprisons you in patterns that no longer serve you. My family's treatment of me wasn't about my worth. It was about their inability to see beyond their own limitations, their own fears, their own need to maintain a power structure that kept them comfortable. I still have moments of doubt, times when the old voices creep in and whisper that maybe I was too harsh, too unforgiving, too quick to burn bridges. But then I remember the look in my father's eyes when he tried to humiliate me, the casual cruelty in my sister's smirk, the way they all expected me to smile and accept their abuse disguised as family dynamics. The truth is, some bridges need to be burned. Some relationships are too toxic to maintain. Some family members care more about control than connection, more about maintaining their power than nurturing your growth. And walking away from those dynamics isn't giving up on family. It's refusing to accept a counterfeit version of love. My husband and I talk often about the family we want to create, the children we might have someday, the legacy we want to leave. We talk about raising kids who understand that respect is non-negotiable, that boundaries are healthy, that real love doesn't require you to sacrifice your identity or your dignity. We talk about creating a home where strength is celebrated, where achievements are acknowledged, where every family member is valued for who they are rather than what they can provide for others. The road ahead isn't always clear, but it's mine to choose. The car that carries me forward belongs to me, bought with my service, my sacrifice, my determination to never again accept less than I deserve. The uniform I wear represents not just my past achievements, but my commitment to continuing to earn the respect I demand from the world. When I close my eyes, I can still hear my father's voice trying to diminish me, my sister's laugh as she prepared to take what was mine, my mother's whispered guilt trying to manipulate me back into compliance. But those voices grow quieter each day, drowned out by the sound of my own engine, my own choices, my own life moving forward at the speed I choose. They say that the best revenge is living well, but I disagree. The best revenge is living authentically. Living as the full, complete, uncompromised version of yourself that they tried to prevent you from becoming. Living with the knowledge that their opinion of your worth has no bearing on your actual value. Living with the peace that comes from refusing to participate in dynamics that diminish you. I am Commander Alyssa Grant, and this is my peace. Not the artificial peace of family harmony built on my silence and compliance, but the real peace that comes from knowing exactly who you are and refusing to apologize for taking up the space you've earned. This is the peace of a warrior who finally turned her weapons away from external enemies and toward the forces in her own life that sought to destroy her from within. The sun sets on this chapter of my story, but it rises on infinite possibilities ahead. The woman who once begged for scraps of affection has become someone who sets the table and decides who deserves a seat. The girl who was taught that her worth was negotiable has become a woman who knows her value is non-negotiable. And when future generations ask how a small-town girl became a Navy SEAL commander who refused to be broken by her own family, I hope they remember this moment. Not just the public confrontation, but the private decision to finally choose herself. To choose respect over relationship, authenticity over approval, truth over the comfortable lies that keep dysfunctional families functioning. This is my peace. This is my power. This is my truth. And no one, not even family, gets to take that away from me ever again.